Moto2, of course, if and when these sorts of riders go to MotoGP, then again it's another step up in terms of technical knowledge and working out different settings on the bike and where you need to improve and where you need to find those extra tenths. And obviously setting up a machine in Moto2 and MotoGP is a real step up compared to Moto3. It's probably an element that the riders don't really think about too much. Of course, when you've won a Moto3 title, when you're winning races in Moto3, your confidence is sky high. You just think you can hop onto a Moto2 machine. They'll train on bigger class bikes, of course, away from the circuit, and think, I'll just go on, hop on it. Yeah, I'll have to adapt my riding style slightly here and there, but in general, I can just hop on the bike, make a few changes, and away we go. But that's not always the case. As we've seen with Alonso this year, Holgado on the other side of the box has certainly figured it out. And Alonso is figuring it out. He's obviously had a win in Hungary and got his first front row start last time out over in Japan, and he's looked really strong also this weekend, as Alonso finished 7th yesterday, Holgado up in 2nd place. But it's a definite extra element that needs to be kept an eye on with these rookies, as Mano Gonzalez then enters the fray at 32.680. 32, reminder, 0.996 was his table-topping time yesterday. So after letting the others flirt at the top of the timesheets, Manu Gonzalez has just said, yeah, you know what, final 10 minutes, I fancy just laying down a little bit of a gauntlet here in FP2.
He is flexing his muscles in this morning's session now as Gonzalez. His lap prior to that was a 32.9 anyway, and he's now dropped into a 32.6, and he's been out there on the same set of tyres for the entirety of the session. He's on lap 10 of the session now. Holgado, as you can see, bottom of the screens, is not doing too badly either. He's into the 32s on a 1:32.959, a quarter of a second a lap at the moment down on Gonzalez. At the moment, Holgado might well be the likeliest contender and threat to Gonzalez in the Grand Prix tomorrow. Moreira, though, up in 2nd place at the moment. We know Moreira does tend to up his game when the incentive of points and podiums are suddenly waved in his face. So don't rule out the Brazilian too, currently in 2nd place. But Manu Gonzalez establishing himself once more, if he needed to, that he is the clear rider to beat at the moment in this Moto2 class. And he might be offering a little bit of a thanks to Darren Binder at the end of this weekend if Gonzalez does ultimately convert this extraordinary pace he's showing into Grand Prix victory. A victory which could take him a step nearer to the Moto2 World Championship. Out of the final corner he comes. It's going to be another lap in the 132s. Across the line he goes. It is indeed another 132. This time a 32.867. That is still faster than anyone else has been this morning.
Yeah, really, really strong pace again. As David Alonso then has crashed at turn 5. That's where Marc Marquez crashed yesterday. Of course, RB Adatama also had a crash there this morning. Good to see Alonso is up on his feet and looking relatively all okay. Looks like a little bit of a second-hand Aspar Kalex triumph, unfortunately. So a bit of a repair job potentially coming up for those mechanics down there. It went early as well. Ooh.
Yeah, front ender for Alonso, who did his very best there to tuck his hands in towards his chest to try and protect any potential limbs being damaged as he hit the gravel track. Or, they can see with the rear that came round on Alonso, he appeared into the shot as if he took the front, but the rear had actually gone on the way into turn 5. Just bounced well, doesn't he? Clearly, David Alonso straight back up on his feet and now jogging his way away from the scene.
Yeah, that's a big off then for Alonso, but as you can see, he looks all okay. I think that potentially is session over though, unfortunately, for the reigning Moto3 World Champion. How long will he be the reigning champion for? Potentially only for today and a few hours into tomorrow morning, with Barreda looking likely or set to become the Moto3 World Champion, if not tomorrow, then next time we head out on track in Australia. Canet there, we were just focusing on Canet, just got it a little bit wrong there, not sure what happened at turn 4 when he tried to tip it into the left-hander. Teammate Barry Bowters re-enters the fray.
So we now pick up Jake Dixon, who's entering the 4th sector. Dixon, the lead Boscoscuro, a second Boscoscuro, should I say, yesterday, behind Tony Arbolino. Not a lot between them, 0.006 of a second. Well, he is the lead Boscoscuro in this morning session at the moment. Gold Kalex top 4, Gonzalez, Moreira, Holgado, Bowters, Dixon for Boscoscuro 5th. Ethan Guevara next to the Boscoscuros in 8th. Guevara, perhaps a surprise name in qualifying 1. It is a Boscoscuro heavy qualifying 1 later on today, and a couple in there that ought not to be really. Guevara, who's had good pace in recent rounds, first Q1 appearance for the 2022 Moto3 champion, since the Saxon ring, and Celestino Vietti will also join him in that qualifying one session. Vietti's had a pretty under par morning so far. He's down in 24th place, but a crash yesterday put him in qualifying one. Here's another look at what happened to Aaron Canet, who didn't feel too comfortable at dropping that calyx on its side in the middle of turn 3.
It looked like a little bit of vibration coming from the front as he tipped it through turn 3, and that continued on the exit of the corner when he was continuing sort of a double apex left-hander, isn't it, through 3 and 4, probably the tightest parts of this circuit, as we pick up Manuel Gonzalez, who is, as we've seen so far, demonstrating superiority again in FP2. Moreira, his pace dropped somewhat off a cliff really in this session. At 33.9 was Diogo Moreira's last lap, and Gonzalez looked like he's going to be remaining in the 132s. Let's get him over the line. Yeah, it is a 132.736, so a second and a little bit more ahead of Diogo Moreira's final lap. We didn't obviously see what happened to Moreira on that last lap, but if that was what Moreira has on 13 lap old tyres, then he hasn't got an answer for Gonzalez at this stage of the weekend.
Holgado's now doing 133.2s as well. He's 14 laps into his session. They're sort of running sort of concurrent race simulations at the moment on the racetrack, and if they were in a genuine race against each other, Gonzalez would be streaking clear right now from Holgado, who's just done another 33.2 as he crosses the line. That's not exactly slow pace from Daniel Holgado, but it's looking slow compared to Manu Gonzalez. We pick up Alex Escrig then, looking to turn the forward momentum around after Jorge Navarro's crash earlier on, right here, coming into turn 16. Well, that was where the bike at least ended up after his crash a corner prior. Escrig, who has had his issues already this weekend, didn't see him out on track for much of yesterday afternoon's session after some early problems. He's up into the top 10 though, a 133.154, which compares very favourably to the kind of pace he was doing yesterday. Escrig's best lap in practice was a 33.8. That lap time from Escrig would have put him second yesterday.
Yeah, top job from Escrig. Good to see the forward factory team having something to shout about. Escrig was inside the top 10 in FP1 as well. Didn't quite have the pace to challenge for the top 14 yesterday afternoon. A 133.838 though, was only 8 tenths off Manu Gonzalez's pace. Just how tight it is in Moto2. He was less than 3 tenths away from being in that top 14. So Escrig could be an outside bet later on this afternoon to get into Q2. Watch out for the number 11.
Yeah, going through Q1 later on then, we have Vietti, Guevara, Huertas, Joe Roberts, who's another rider who will be expecting to navigate his way through. Alonso Lopez on the second and speed RS Boscoscuros. Canet, of course, as we've discussed throughout the morning. Salat after his various problems. Escrig, Adji, who will have certainly plenty of fans on his side this afternoon. Darren Binder, Senna Agius, who we haven't really touched upon. He had a tough day yesterday, down in 25th place. Agius going through Q1 for the second Saturday in a row, joined by Jorge Navarro, Yuki Kuni and Unai Aradre. So, although Aaron Canet on reputation should come through qualifying one, he's certainly got plenty of competition to get himself into those top 4 places, and I don't think Aaron Canet is going to be achieving anything after he failed to clear the Q1 hurdle a week ago.
No, absolutely not, and conditions are going to change this afternoon as well in terms of the feeling on track compared to this morning. They, of course, had similar conditions to what they'll face yesterday. Of course, Canet found himself outside the top 14 and down in P20, whereas Canet currently is in P8. He did take a trip to the medical centre yesterday, Canet, but obviously all okay to head back out on track, and doing the same is Diogo Moreira. But yeah, at this moment in time, a 33.235, not bad pace for Bautis, but again, 5 tenths off Gonzalez's best time and 3 tenths off Gonzalez's slowest time that we've seen him do in the last couple of laps. Again, Gonzalez hits a 132.921, just looking really comfortable, just lapping in the mid to high 132s, and a couple of the riders, of course, have managed to get into the 132s, but they're all 132.9s, and the rest of the race simulations are in the 133s at this moment in time. Daniel Munoz was third quickest yesterday. We've not seen him too much on the 17 so far in this session, but he's getting a nice little bit of slipstream, or was anyway, from Philip Salat. Threatened to move at the inside of turn 16. I think if that was the race, he would have gone for it, but understandably thinking better of it towards the end of Prix Practice 2. But it might still be a decent time to promote him potentially inside that top 10.
I think we we all saw his inner turmoil there, didn't we? Shall I go for it? Shall I go for it? Nah, I think I'll wait for the Grand Prix tomorrow, where Danny Munoz will, at the very least, start on the front 6 rows of the grid. Of course, third yesterday, put him straight through to qualifying 2. In terms of qualifying later on, Gonzalez did sound a little bit of a note of caution. He did say that the rest of the field will be much closer to him on a soft tyre in time attack mode. It's the race pace, which certainly looks like being Gonzalez's trump card through this weekend. But one of the bedrocks of Gonzalez's current championship campaign and current lead of the World Championship is his qualifying performances. 7 pole positions this season, of course the last of those coming in Japan last weekend. And of the 17 Grand Prix we've had so far this season, he's qualified on the front row in 12 of them. So often we see Gonzalez putting himself at the front of the field, and of course when you compare that to some of his other title rivals, we've seen Diogo Moreira, of course, start deep on the grid as recently as Barcelona when he was 13th, of course the Sachsenring when he qualified down in 25th and had to launch that late comeback and then had to start from the pit lane in Brno. Aaron Canet's had his fair share of qualifying issues, of course, career worst, 23rd last weekend, but we haven't seen Canet on the front row of the grid since Mugello. Barry Baltus always tends to move his way through on a Sunday from relatively deep on the grid. Last time we saw Baltus on the front row of the grid was when he took pole back at Brno. So there's no question that if we put all the championship contenders side by side and ask them to do one qualifying lap, Gonzalez looks the superior of them. But it's all about trying to either deny Gonzalez pole position today or try and beat him into the first corner tomorrow. Those might be your 2 best opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously he qualified on pole position in Manu Gonzalez in Japan, and of course a lot can happen at turn 1. It's the place on lap 1 where a lot of things can go wrong. It can also go very right, of course, as well, but it went a little bit wrong for Gonzalez in Japan, and he could never really make up for lost time there, and of course had that long lap penalty to deal with as well when he was in a battle with Celestino Vietti, one that he wouldn't have found himself in if he didn't go wrong at turn 1. So yeah, his qualifying, as his race pace as well, has been a real stranglehold in 2025. In recent races, only Daniel Holgado really who has a better qualifying record than Manu Gonzalez. 2 poles in the last 3 for Holgado. As once again, Manu Gonzalez, 1:32.597. He is now over 3 tenths clear of Moreira. I don't think he's pitted. In fact, he definitely hasn't pitted, has he? 16 laps on the tyre, a 32.597. Dominance is the word I'd use.
At that particular rate, he will run and hide tomorrow in the Indonesian Grand Prix. Much kind of the fashion as Fermin Aldeguer did a couple of years ago here. But still, the most important part of the job is still to come. It's all well and good being strong in practice. Jake Dixon will tell you that. He was fastest in all 3 practice sessions a week ago in Motegi. That did not translate to pole position on Saturday afternoon. He qualified down in 6th. So Manu Gonzalez will not be allowing any complacency at this stage.
Arbolino then back out after his early crash. If you're wondering why he's down in P23, this is a decent lap coming. He's just shadowing Diogo Moreira, who, as we can see, hasn't got the pace to match Manu Gonzalez in terms of race rhythm. Arbolino just dives up the inside of the number 10 around the final corner. This is going to promote Arbolino. If he holds this to the line, it could promote him inside the top 4, but I think he'll lose a couple of tenths behind Moreira in the final split. He loses a lot more time, but still good to get Arbolino back out on track after the crash and get a decent-ish lap time in, but he's going straight into Q2. So yeah, a little bit of homework to do, but good to get a run out on the bike at least after the crash before you go out and qualify. And of course, that is the next time we'll see these riders back out on track.
The next time we see Aaron Canet, of course, once this lap has been completed, will be in qualifying 1 later on today. 5th time this year that Canet has gone through Q1, although he did convert Q1 to pole position on one of those previous occasions back at the British Grand Prix. I think if you offered Aaron Canet a place on the front 2 rows of the grid right now, he would bite your hand off, given what's lying in store for him later on today. A critical 15 minutes of Q1 for Canet, which Manu Gonzalez can comfortably sit and watch, safe in the knowledge that he set another all-time lap record this morning.
Yeah, simply stunning, isn't it, so far this from Gonzalez. A perfect weekend up till this point, and he is the heavy favourite going into qualifying and the race, and of course remains the heavy favourite for the championship as well. A big weekend coming up for Gonzalez. likewise for Diogo Moreira as well. Can they find time, first in time attack mode and then in race trim on Sunday to try and catch the Spaniards? We're going to find out in the next couple of hours.
Well, we generally see Diogo Moreira up his game a level or two from practice to qualifying and qualifying to the race. He's going to have to this weekend to keep Manu Gonzalez in sight. Don't rule out this man either, Daniel Holgado, whose long run rhythm perhaps looks the next best to Manu Gas in this morning's session. We know how strong Holgado has been on a Sunday of late. He is the top point scorer since the summer break, but they've all got a serious job on their hands to deny Manu Gonzalez on current form. Another all-time lap record for the World Championship leader. Diogo Moreira takes second ahead of Daniel Holgado and Barry Baltas. They're all in the 32s. Alex Escricha finds fifth on a mixed morning for the forward team. Jake Dixon sixth on the first of the Boscoscuros. David Alonso, after his big get-off at turn 5, 7th ahead of Kinet Guevara and Joe Roberts. Danny Munoz, who was third yesterday, 11th ahead of Aegis Ramirez, Vietti and Van den Gorberg. Albert Arenas, 16th ahead of Colin Vaya, who was one of the many early fallers. Philip Salas, Tony Arbolino, who also fell. And Ivan Artola likewise completing the top 20. Huerta, Sasaki, Aradre, Lopez and Binder next up, ahead of Yuki Kuni. 27th was Mario Anchi, and completing on 28 was Jorge Navarro, who crashed at turn 15 before setting a lap time. So the dominance continues for the World Championship leader. More misery piled on for the chasers by Manu Gonzalez. An all-time lap record for the 18, who goes into qualifying as the overwhelming favourite. MotoGP Practice 2 is coming up next for you.
MotoGP's whirlwind tour of Asia and Australia has landed on the pristine and postcard coastline of Lombok for the Grand Prix of Indonesia. The island is the site of Indonesia's second highest volcano and is packed full of natural beauty with stunning beaches, waterfalls and turquoise waters, making it an authentic tropical getaway. Sprint Saturday starts with FP2 and qualifying next live. It's time for MotoGP. First open then back in November of 2021. A few months later, at the start of 2022, MotoGP made its first visit to the Pertamina Mandalika International Circuit. 4.3 kilometres, 2.67 miles in length. 17 corners and plenty of them pose a stiff challenge in that final. Well, after what turned out to be a rather unusual and rather unpredictable Friday to kick off the 2025 Grand Prix of Indonesia, join us live as we begin our coverage of the MotoGP action on Spring Saturday. It's round 18 of our record-breaking World Championship campaign this season. And once again, it is hot, hot, hot. Sizzling heat has greeted us this morning here on the spectacular holiday island of Lombok. These live pictures just give you a clear indication of why the whole paddock cannot wait